O'Neill Outside Radio is brought to you by these fine sponsors. The Whitetail Institute of North America, the gold standard for food plots. Realtree, camo hunting, fishing, and land management products. Tough Shed, great storage sheds and custom buildings. Works, power and garden tools. Fisher's Choice, the ideal solution to live bait. CVA, quality muzzleloader since 1971. QDMA, Quality Deer Management Association. Arctic Ice, the most durable, versatile, and effective cooler packs available. Furminator, the finest food plot implement on the market. And by O'Neill's new gun, reel, and marine oils, naturally the best.
Good morning, boys and girls, from Black Powder headquarters at Three Falls Cabin in the North Georgia mountains. CVA presents Realtree Radio. Welcome to a brand new, unused Saturday morning.
Well, O'Neill is not with you this week. It's Scott Maxim sitting in with you this morning on O'Neill Outside. Welcome, coming at you high atop Sassafras Mountain from the Bojangle Studio. I am highly caffeinated and very motivated to be with you live this morning. We're coming at you in the south on News 95.5 and AM 750 WSB. Up in the north, WEEI Boston, the flagship station of the Red Sox, and coast to coast on SB Nation. This week's program is brought to you by Timbuktu Outdoors and Fisher's Choice Baits, Stripling's General Store. If you haven't gone to one, check it out. It's something else. O'Neill's Alaskan Cruise Adventure, that's coming up pretty soon. You're going to want to check o'neilloutside.com, get some information on that. The Whitetail Institute Food Plots Company, yeah, it's good stuff there. Tough Shed. O'Neill's Real Lubes and Gun Oils, definitely different, definitely better. We'll tell you about those a little later on in the program. Snellville Heating and Air, Arctic Ice Packs, Bodyplex in Alpharetta and Jasper, and Works Tools. Today on the docket, the Medal of Honor recipient, this week Corporal Rodolfo Hernandez, U.S. Army, Korea, 1951. We'll find out what he did in that theater. We've got a big old radio prize pack for you here today. The Ram Fishing Report with Captain Mac may or may not happen. I got some news he's out of town this weekend and may not be available, so hopefully we will get through to him a little bit later on. I've got a fishing report for different lakes around Georgia. We'll hit that later on. And this week's subject, off-season firearms purchases. We're kind of getting ready for the fall hunting seasons. Now's the time to start thinking about getting into the game with a new rifle or gun purchase, or might be time to upgrade. We'll talk about what you need to look for, what you need to avoid, and some tips on going out and getting that firearm for you here this year. And I've got a little something that happened to me last week I want to tell you about. It's an actual deer in the headlights story. Real stuff about me encountering a deer on the road on the way home from here. So stick around. We've got 2 hours of outdoor talk. We got your calls. Hit it. 404-872-0750. That's the number in the metro Atlanta area. 800-972-8255. That'll get you everywhere else in touch with me here at News 95.5 and AM 750 WSB, WEEI in Boston, and nationwide on SB Nation, coast to coast. Good morning and welcome back to O'Neill Outside. Glad to be with you this morning. Scott Maxim filling in for O'Neill, and I'll be talking about firearms questions later on today in the program. If you have a question about guns or about shotguns, or even if you're looking to purchase a handgun, give us a call, 404-872-0750, 800-972-8255. Maybe I can help you out if you have a question or two. In the meantime, let's check out the Georgia Lake reports for today, starting off in North Georgia with Lake Allatoona. Today, we are looking at a level that's slightly over full, with temperatures ranging from about 84 to 90 degrees and clarity of about 6 feet. Now, in the month of August, typically the bass on Lake Allatoona, they run a little slow. You're not going to find too much, but things are a little different this year up there. Plenty of rain and constant water levels have made for a good summer bite, so might be a little luckier this weekend than similar weekends in the past. A lot of the fish are running mid-depth to deep and will be for a while. That means the brush pile bite will generally be pretty good, and rock is great right now as well. So good luck to y'all out there on Lake Allatoona. Going to head on over to Hartwell now, and we are at full pool at Lake Hartwell. Temperature there, 85 to 88 with clear water. Today we're saying the bass are a little more scattered than usual this time of year is what we're hearing. We'll catch a few fish on the top water, but you have to run and gun a lot until you run into them. There are going to be some fish out deeper on the humps and main lake points around the brush and timbers, and but it's going to be a little inconsistent as far as getting a bite there. Moving into August, bait fish should be a little bit more bunched up, and the fish will be around there too, so just keep an eye out for that. Heading on over to Lake Lanier. We are actually a few inches over full pool today. Temperature in the mid to upper 80s, and the clarity will vary throughout the main lake. Overall, it's clear. The only staining you'll find is in the upper river arms. The bite for the bass on the lake, good overall. It does slow down a little in August. Keep that in mind. But the great thing about this time of year is the fish are set on where they're going to spend their time for the next few months. So you should be able to set up a pretty regular places, spots around the lake where you know the fish will be, and you'll have a little bit more success. Let's see here else. Patterns will produce from one lake to the other end, and don't be surprised if the action is best in the afternoon. Look for fish around the drops in 20 to 25 feet of water. Steep points, rock banks, and humps are where they will be. We'll head on over to Carter's Lake now. We're 0.2 feet above full. All right, excellent. That rain has helped it out up there. Temperatures around 88. Clarity, good to 8 feet today. Fair overall fishing here on Carter's Lake. Even when you have to grind for a few, you can find them, and it will be rewarding. The early morning and late evening can produce a good top water bite, and if you can find areas of rock and wood cover, you'll be better off. Be on the lookout for surfacing fish that are pushing bait to the top. Top water baits, big flutter spoons, or swim baits worked rapidly across the surface can get some real nice strikes for you. Got a question? Give us a call, 404-872-0750, 800-972-8255. Moving on down a little bit, heading on to Lake Oconee. We've got a full pool up there at Lake Oconee with high water temperatures in the 80s on the main lake, clear with the clarity, and that even applies to the rivers above the railroad trestle. So good news for y'all up there. You're going to want to fish in the morning, either cranking as the lake is refilling early in the morning, or fish top water, or favorite shallow baits as long as you have shade present. They like it a little cooler. Fish brush, lay downs, and docks for a few fish, but it will get tough, and it's going to be a little hot today, so advice, stay hydrated when you get out on the lake. That might not be a bad thing. West Point Lake, how are we looking over there today? We got a full pool, looking pretty good. Low to mid 80s in the water, so a little cooler there at West Point. Clear water as well, and the bass are hitting kind of fair today. They're being caught on the deeper brush piles, ledges, and road beds as the water will continue to warm throughout the day. Try big, deep diving bomber, citrus shad colored crankbaits, or Texas-rigged Zoom Old monster worms. Okay, love the name. Sounds good. Best fishing around brush piles. Now, with the high water from the summer's rains, some fish choose to remain shallow. The river has remained a little cooler and has some flow from a full Lake Lanier. Topwater baits such as popar, xerospooks, and sporo popping frogs can still be effective for shallow fish, especially around grass and weed beds. Try targeting areas north of the 219 bridge in the Chattahoochee River. All right, sounds good there as well. Lake Sinclair. Oh, where are we at here on, okay. Lake Sinclair, 1.3 feet low. That's still pretty good. Temperatures 85 to 89 degrees on the main lake. It's a little cooler up on the Little River or Murder Creek. So keep that in mind when you're looking for the fish up there. The main lake is clear, with some stain in the rivers from afternoon showers. The bass are moving in the morning. Fish the seawalls and riprap with topwaters, crankbaits, or spinnerbaits on the bank. As the sun comes up, stay in the shade and stay tight to the walls and riprap. Trying the grass with some topwater frogs or swim jigs. Try that a little early on, and hopefully you'll have some success with that. After you lose the shade lines, fish the docks with a jig and or a monster worm or a good old-fashioned 6-inch worm should get the job done. Lake Jackson. We got a full lake there again as well. Temperatures 85 to 90 with clear water. The bass fishing, however, will be tough during the day. The early morning and late evening bites are going to be your best bet. The night can yield some great bites, and if you'd like to have the lake to yourself, this is the best time to get out there and start looking for those bass. Early morning running and gunning in your favorite topwater is the best place to catch your fish that you're looking for today. And when the sun is up, you can run the shade with topwater. Frogs, buzzbaits, whopper ploppers, love the names of these things, are just a few topwater baits that are getting fish. Once the sun is high and bright, follow the fish as they make their way to deeper water on long points or flats close to deeper water to the humps. Brush piles in the 12 to 20 foot range will hold small schools of bass. All right, time to head south. We're going to Lake Seminole now. 0.3 feet below full. We'll call it full, close enough for government work, right? Temperatures in the mid-80s in the water with clear water throughout the lake. And with the recent rains and, so on, Lake Seminole is now, for the most part, full. Rain and cloudy conditions have dropped the water temperature down. That's good, several degrees. And it has the big bass looking up and feeding on the surface. Interesting. Look for explosive strikes on a variety of topwater lures from buzzbaits to frogs. And if you're looking for a topwater recommendation here, this report says the buzzbait is a great lure and should be efficient in covering water. Find your active areas along the grass lines. Lake Eufaula. Full pool today. Temperature in the upper 80s. Clarity stained clear on the south end. Eufaula is in the typical summer pattern. The lake is full of water due to all the rain, and some fish are being caught shallow around the river grass and lily pads on frog-type baits. Finally, Lake Blackshear. Going to head on over there, check it out today. You got a full pool, temperature in the low 80s, clear water, and the bass are post-spawn and relating to cover, like grass, lily pads, structures, wood, docks, and so on, railroad trestles, those areas. The biggest challenge coming up will be the heat today. Early morning and late afternoon, again, seem to be the recipe for success here. And during the day, look for shady areas like the docks or under bridges. Are you getting out today? Let us know where you're going. Let us know what you're planning on using. Let us know your strategy for catching that fish today on O'Neill Outside. Give us a call. 404-872-0750 is the Metro Atlanta calling number. 1-800-972-8255. That's for all of y'all outside that area. And if you don't like numbers, 1-800-WSB-TALK. That'll get you here talking to me, and Jason will be happy to screen your call and get you all set up. More outdoors coming up in just a bit. You're listening to O'Neill Outside on News 95.5 and AM 750 WSB. Hey, welcome back to O'Neill Outside. Scott Maxim filling in for O'Neill. Today, he's out running around with Woman Williams and continuing their little adventures across the planet that they, well, quite honestly deserve to be able to take every now and again. Questions or anything, give us a call, 404-872-0750, 800-972-8255. Time for the radio prize package question for today, and it is a heck of a prize pack we've got for you. Let me read it out to you here real quick before I give you the question. Today's prize pack includes a Bojangles gift card. Get all that really yummy spicy chicken in your tummy, why don't you? Swaggerty Farms free voucher. That's good for Swaggerty Farms meat products. Oh, and I've had those. They are mighty tasty. A Whitetail Institute DVD on how to plant food plots so you don't have to call Walter Reeves and bother him with that information. The Angler Magazine, Real Tree hat and window decal, a Data Sport fish and game forecaster, 2 cans of Fisher's Choice baits, a Thunder Chicken from Captain Mark Noble. I'm assuming, is that a bait? I'm thinking it's a bait because it has a weird name, so it must be. Thorogood Boots hat. Thorogood Boots hat, okay. An Arctic Ice freezer pack, 2 packets of bug bands and a wristband, and a selection of True Turn tackle. All these can be yours if you can answer this question. What company or brand is the presenting sponsor of Realtree Radio for 2019? Any of y'all that listen to O'Neill Outside, you should know this, and you should know it going back a long way. Give us a call with that answer. 404-872-0750, 800-972-8255. And while we wait for our winner to give us a call with an answer, we're going to check in with Don. Where are you calling from today, Don? How are you doing?
Ocean Isle, North Carolina.
Absolutely. How are things up in North Carolina today, sir?
Well, it's nice and cool here this morning. I'm sitting by the window listening to the old sea buoy wail, so I know it's a little rough offshore.
Oh, okay. Got any big plans to hit the water today, sir?
I probably stay inshore today if we do anything. It's rough offshore. Got 20 knot winds off out in the fishing area out there, so we're a little rough. So we'll hang around close and may have to eat what we got stored in the freezer so far this year.
Well, that's not a bad thing. I seem to recall last time we spoke that you hit the flounder pretty good, was it, out on a fishing expedition there?
Yeah, we had a flounder tournament over here this year. We've been having one for about 35 years, and the winner this year was 8.5 pounds, and some winners have been up around 10 pounds. So that's what they call a doormat. But
a big old edible doormat.
Beginning to get a little scarce, and they're closing down the flounder season this year today. So don't know how long that's going to be. So.
Oh wow, they're actually closing it today. Okay, well maybe that's what you need to see if you can land today.
And they allow them to gig flounder over here, and that's and they also have net fishing and so the whole gamut's closed down, including hook and line.
Okay. Well,
now we maintain the hook and line. Never will put pressure on a species anyway. So.
No, that makes perfect sense. I mean, it's all about preserving the resource. So, yeah, if they say shut it down, we'll shut it down. I have no problems with that. So that being said, you're not going out.
We'll probably stick inshore today. We got some rig work to do, and some cleaning up some of the rigs, straighten them. So we've always got work to do, rather we're not out fishing. So. But,
would anybody out there be advised also that perhaps the dock fishing would be good if you can find you a dock off the shore there?
Oh yeah, we got waterway fishing, which is you got some black drum and spot tails and other species we catch inshore, but us offshore fishermen like to fish the bottom. And one thing about the bottom fish, you never know what you're going to bring up off that bottom out there. So.
Isn't that the truth? Yeah, and they got a lot of weird things hanging out.
You don't want to mess with, so you have to know what that is too. So.
No, I remember one time doing an offshore fish. We're just out there and we're mostly pulling in little trigger fish off the bottom and that kind of thing. Well, one guy hit a shark and nobody saw that coming, and he fought that thing for darn near 3 hours trying to land it and never could.
Well, we don't. When we get one of those, we know pretty well what it's on, so we break it off and let him go. But we got some lionfish offshore here. They've been predominant now. Last 8 or 9 years, and those things are very dangerous if you bring those up. So, those spiny fins on them. If you get one of them while when you first bring him up, that's you got a trip to the hospital. So.
Oh, we talking about a venom here?
Beg your pardon?
Are we talking about them with some kind of a venom action there?
Right. They got spines on them, and they got the venom on the spines, and it's very it can be cause death. So they're dangerous fish.
Oh, don't want to mess with that. No absolutely
predators over here, so they're and I thought they had a bounty on them for a while. I don't know if the spearfishing were bringing those up or not.
Well. Sounds like you got a full day ahead of you, my friend.
If you know what to do with them when you get them up. So.
But based on that, I still don't think I want to take the chance, man. I'll go with something safe like one of your flounder. All right. Well,
great.
appreciate you giving us a call here this week, Don. I got to get off the phone here. I've got a prize pack winner who I think not only deserves to get his prize pack, he should get it as soon as possible.
All right, Scott, thank you for taking over, O'Neill. You're doing a good job, so I appreciate you.
Well, thank you very much for calling as usual, Don. Have yourself a great day, and I wish I could be up there with you in Ocean Isle, North Carolina, sir.
Someday.
Indeed. Have a great one.
Thank you.
All right. Let's get back to the phones here. We've got Andrew up here in Ackworth, I believe. Let's see if we can get you on the line. Andrew, are you there?
Yes, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm highly caffeinated and very motivated this morning, sir. How about you?
Oh, I'm about the same. Just out here working.
Oh, out working. What are you doing?
Well, I work for the DOT. Work overnights.
Oh, right on, right on. You doing some road construction there, my friend?
No, I'm actually in a Hero truck.
Oh, dude, you guys are awesome, man. Let me give you a plug. You saved my backside a couple times on the highway. And for what you guys do out there, man, you don't charge anybody. You guys are awesome. I got nothing but love for you.
Yeah, it's a good time. It's a thankless job, and I tell you, I can't get out of bed quick enough, to come to work every day. I mean, the job, you drive around looking for people to help. That's it. I mean, what could possibly be better? And you get paid for it. No,
I mean, you're like the Lone Ranger of the highways, you guys out there, man. So much love to you. Thank you very much for what you guys do out there, helping make Georgia's roads a little safer. So you got a answer here to the question. What would that answer be? The question being, what company or brand is the presenting sponsor of Real Tree Radio for 20?
It's going to be CVA muzzle loaders, and I used to try to win one back when he'd give them away.
You won one, you said?
No, I used to try. I tried for years to get one. He used to give them away for the longest time.
Oh, I know, man. I used to, matter of fact, I used to board op for O'Neill back in those times, man. And, yeah, I was amazed that that CVA muzzleloader was part of that prize pack. Excuse me, because that drives that prize pack cost way up, makes it super valuable. But, we'll come back to it one day here. In the meantime, you did get yourself a pretty good prize pack, my friend, and you got a lot of great things to help you out with anything you plan on doing out in the outdoors this season.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problems. Thank you, and thank you for listening to O'Neill Outside. You got any plans today, as a matter of fact, my friend?
I'm going to do some much-needed sleeping here in a couple hours.
Absolutely. I know how it is on the third shift, and as soon as 6 o'clock hits, at 6 o'clock and 1 second, I will be jumping into that bed and staring at my eyeballs for about 8 hours.
Right.
Right on, brother. Well, thank you very much. Have yourself a great day, and love you again for what you do out there, my friend.
All right, man. I appreciate it. You too. Y'all have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye now. All right, we're going to go back to the phones here and would encourage you to do so as well. If you want to give us a call, 404-872-0750 is the number in the Metro Atlanta calling area, 800-972-8255. That'll get you talking to me every place else on the planet. And here's no exception to that rule. We got a guy here. Who's this?
Milton Crabapple.
Milton, good morning to you, sir. How are you on this fine morning?
I'm doing just fine this morning. You're coming in loud and clear, sounding good.
Well, thank you very much, sir. I'm having a great time here, as usual, substituting for O'Neill. And hopefully we can answer some questions for some folks about their firearms decisions for the upcoming new hunting season.
Well, that sounds good. I'm sure you can. You know a lot about firearms.
Well,
I always enjoy listening to you talk about them.
Well, and the thing is I really enjoy well, I don't want to say messing around with them, but I do enjoy shooting them. I'm big on the whole target shooting, handguns, rifles, whatever I can get my hands on. Generally, I'm out blowing holes in paper someplace with it and having a good old time.
Well, that's a lot of fun. I was listening to you give the fishing reports earlier.
Oh, okay, sir.
I always enjoy that. That's very helpful to folks.
Oh, it is?
You was talking about Captain Mac, and you was talking about bass fishing and all. A bass is a smart fish.
Oh, really?
He sure is. Now, they are mighty smart. They're not like bluegills and other fish. They're smart. You got to be smart to catch one of them things. I was over at Old Man Eacher's pond fishing one time, and I was just standing there fishing and sitting on my stool, and I heard something rustling around in the leaves. And at first I thought it was a snake. but I could hear it rustling around, and I looked. It's a few yards from me, and there was a chipmunk. You know what a chipmunk is, don't you?
Tiny little rat. Hey, let me hold that thought for a minute, Milton. I got a hard break coming up here. I got to take off, and I do want to get you to tell us more about this. So stick around. I want to put you on hold here real quick, and we'll get back to Milton here in just a moment. You're listening to O'Neill Outside on News 95.5 and AM 750 WSB. Welcome back to O'Neill Outside. Going to jump right back into the phone conversation here with Milton. Sorry I had to put you on hold there, Milton, but if we don't run those spots, we don't get paid, and then we're stuck eating dog food, sir.
Well, I know how that is. I know how that is for sure. That's all
what,
right.
you know about
I was telling you about this chipmunk.
Yes, tell us about this
little
chipmunk.
ground squirrel.
Yes.
Well, I heard him in the leaves, and he was going back and forth looking at something. And what it was, there was a tree stump out in the water sticking up a couple of inches out of the water, just a big old tree stump.
Right.
And there was a big green acorn laying on that tree stump. Now, he could smell it, I reckon, but he was looking at that acorn. He was going back and forth looking at that thing. And all of a sudden, that little fella just jumped in the water, and he swam out there to get that acorn. And he stuffed it in his cheek. You know, they got a little pouch in their cheek.
Right.
And he stuffed that thing, and he come swimming back, and he got about halfway back to the shore, and there was the biggest explosion in the water you ever saw. There was a bass, must have weighed about 8 or 9 pounds, and he just come up and engulfed that chipmunk and swallowed him whole.
Whoa.
And was gone.
Whoa.
The water just settled back down, and just like nothing ever happened, and that chipmunk was gone.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Well, in a minute, I saw a shadow coming through the water there. And that shadow eased over to that tree stump, and it was that bass, and he poked his head out of the water, and he spit another acorn up on that tree stump. Well, sure, and I'm telling you, they're smart.
So that fish is squirrel fishing.
I reckon he was. Yes, sir. Smart fish.
Well, yeah, it's always better to wind up at the top of the food chain than the bottom, no question about that.
I reckon it is, but that bass ain't careful, he'll end up on my food chain in the freezer.
Well, you know, I mean, a big old boy like that, he'd be a heck of a catch and something to mount on the wall, is my thinking.
Yeah, well, you know, I like to catch, fillet, and release.
Yeah, and they release them back to the wild as fertilizer.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Got any plans for the weekend there, Milton?
Oh, not much. Going to do a little working in the garden, I reckon.
Do a little working in the garden.
May go fishing. May go fishing sometime this weekend.
What
I
do you
don't
got?
have nothing pressing, really. Just a little garden work.
What do you got going on in the garden? What are you growing, man?
Tomatoes and peppers, mostly.
Tomatoes and peppers. Okay.
That's
not
mostly
bad.
what I grew. You know, I grew some of them ghost peppers this year.
Oh,
They're the hottest blazers. They're just about too hot to eat.
Yeah, that's what I hear about them. And the heat doesn't hit you instantly. It sneaks up on you, from what I understand as well.
It does. It sure does.
Woof.
They're tough. They'll set you ablaze. Yes, sir.
How do you know you got a good pepper? Does everything else around it that's growing start wilting from the heat? Is that what it is?
No, it don't seem to do that, but I'll tell you something. When you bite into that thing, you know it. You better have a mouthful of food before you do.
Oh, no question
Wouldn't want
about
to eat
it.
one of them just plain by itself.
Nah, and you better have a jacuzzi full of water to cool yourself down, too, because you're going to need it.
You sure are.
Absolutely.
Well, I just wanted to touch in with you this morning, so if you get around Crabapple, stop by the jail and we'll play some checkers.
Will do. Thanks for calling, Milton. Have yourself a great day and have fun in that garden.
Much obliged.
Excellent. So, good to hear from Milton as usual in the morning. I'd like to hear from you. 404-872-0750 is the number. 800-972-8255. That'll put you in touch with Jason, who will screen your call and then put you in touch with me. Now, as I promised earlier, I wanted to tell you about a little incident that happened to me as I was coming off the mountain last time I hosted O'Neill Outside. And it's kind of relevant to the time of year that we find ourselves in with respect to the deer season. Deer season obviously is not kicking in for a few more months. And right now, what they're doing is basically just moving around with a lot of newborn young. So, excuse me. As I was coming off the mountain last week, and believe me, it is a mountain that I'm on top of. It's one of these ones where as you drive up, you are going to be having your ears pop, okay? And as you drive up, there's a road that is a double-blind, double dogleg. So dogleg left, dogleg right, up to the top of the hill, and you pretty much can't see everything going all the way up. Well, I'm coming down this hill last time I was here, and about, I want to say about 30 yards in front of me, a doe comes off the tree line to my left, crosses the road, and disappears into the tree line to the right of the road. Now, one of the things I learned early on in my life was that when you see a deer and it's moving across the highway or the roads, keep in mind there's probably going to be another one or two behind them. That's generally the case. And on that particular day, that proved to be true. As Mom crossed the road and she made her way to the tree line on the other side, out following her was a very small fawn. And that fawn was just trotting along happily behind Mom. I'm stopped in the road and I'm watching him. And then the fawn spotted me in the car. And it did what it normally does, which is, boom, drop to the ground completely still. And the problem with this in this particular instance is the deer dropped right down the middle of the line on the road. And so as I'm looking at this, I'm saying to myself, well, this is not good. I know we've got a double-blind curve. This animal stands a good chance of getting killed, and I did not want that to happen. But at the same time, I wasn't really sure what I could do with the deer to get it off the road. So I figured, well, let's just start with rolling up with the car. Rolled up a little closer to the deer, hit the horn, that fawn didn't move. I said, okay. Rolled down the window, yelled at it, didn't move. I said, okay, maybe we need to get up close and personal with this little critter. So I got out of the car, walked up to the fawn expecting it to jump up and move. It didn't. And I'm standing there befuddled looking at this little creature, and it's not even moving an inch or looking at me, doing anything. So then, all right, maybe if I give it a little poke in its deer butt, it'll move. So I gave it a little poke with my toe. It sat there. I lifted the rear end of this animal off the ground with my foot, thinking, surely this is going to get this animal running towards Mom in the woods. It did not. Finally, I'm standing here in the middle of this road with a question of what do I do with this deer? I do not want to leave it in the road, but I'm afraid that if I pick it up and move it, that I'll scent the animal and the mother will reject it. So what am I going to do? I'm stuck with a decision here. Do I let this animal sit in the middle of the road and get smeared? Or do I prevent the road pizza from happening and pick it up and take the chance it gets rejected? I opted for the latter choice. I bent down, and as I picked up that deer, I picked it up just underneath its little front arms and lifted it like you would a cat or a small dog. I lifted that animal up by my fingertips and was just amazed at how light it was. I have a friend whose cat weighed more than this fawn. It was so young. So I picked this little creature up and walked it over across the street to where its mom had gone into the tree line. And I put the deer in the tall grass right next to the tree line, and just as soon as I did, big old Ford F-150 pickup truck comes up around the corner, guy leaning out the window, and stops right about where I picked up that fawn. And he's asking me, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I explained, we had a fawn here, took it out of the street. He says, you did a good thing. But he was just up around looking for a lost dog. But again, based on that situation, I'm glad that I moved the fawn. So in any case, what happened was, as soon as I looked over my shoulder, the fawn had disappeared into the grass, and me and the gentleman on the road spoke a little bit, and then we went on our merry little way. Now, the reason I bring this up, one, numerous times over the years as I've been working with O'Neill, he's talked about situations where people will find a deer in the woods and think that it's injured or sick or abandoned for the very reasons I described. The animal is sitting completely still. It's not moving. You can come up on it. It's not running away. You obviously can poke it. It's not going to run. And so a lot of times what people think when they see this in neighborhoods or on trails in state parks or any other place they might find deer, they make the mistake of thinking that the animal is hurt or abandoned, and it is not. That is a defense mechanism. Now, normally, it makes a lot of sense. Just leave the deer alone. When it's in the woods and it's surrounded by foliage, grass, and so on, it will disappear almost completely from your sight. You could be looking right at it, and that camouflage is so good, and that deer sits so still, unless it's really obvious. You will just walk by it and not think twice about it. That's its defense mechanism. So when you see a deer out and about, don't worry about it. It's doing its thing. If you find a little fawn under a tree in your yard, don't worry about it. Mom's nearby. She's taking care of some business or getting some food on her own. That little deer is doing exactly what it's supposed to do, laying low, hiding out, and waiting for Mom to return. 404-872-0750 is the number to call. 800-972-8255 if you're out of the Atlanta metro area. And if you don't like numbers, 1-800-WSB-TALK. We're going to go to Shay here in Fillmore, Indiana, with a fishing...
Can you hear me, Scott?
Yes, I can. Hey, Shay, what do you got here? Collecting fishing bait with young kids this morning?
Well, not today, but a couple weekends ago, we just finished up the catalpa worm season. I don't know if you know what those are, but...
I do not. Educate me.
Well, you got... Sometimes down south where you guys are, you call them catawba trees. They got big old leaves on them, shaped like a spear point. It's kind of an ornamental tree.
Correct.
Sure, you've seen them around.
Mm-hmm.
They call them catalpas here, but they get the sphinx moth lays eggs on there and hatches out caterpillars. And are called catalpa worms for that reason.
Oh, right on.
Well, they make excellent bait. Anything will eat them. Bluegill, your bream, bass, catfish, it doesn't really matter. They all seem to love them. But I guess we collected about a dozen and a half, and my buddy and his little boy, who's about 7 years old, went with us. And sometimes when you take a young kid fishing and you're not catching anything, they can kind of lose interest. And I guess I wanted to bring up with you the fact that teaching a kid the whole process of, collecting your own bait, like, the catalpa worms, most little kids enjoy, bugs and things like that.
Oh, yeah, that's half the fun.
Different. Yeah, I guess I wanted to remind everybody that, going out and collecting earthworms or catching some grasshoppers to just catch you some bream or panfish, that can be part of the process that you can teach your kids, how everything works. And I'll tell you, them catalpa worms, we didn't catch anything that day. I guess it was just not the day for it. But
sometimes it's like
kids, that. It happens.
Right.
And you can't do much about it. But he spent most of the time playing with them. So it was still a fun day for him. And
outstanding.
I just wanted to remind everybody that, think about what's going to be fun for the kids. I know O'Neill talks about getting
Shay,
the kid out there.
Hate to cut you short, my friend. Gotta bail. We got to hit those commercial breaks. But welcome back to O'Neill Outside, the only live hunt and fishing and outdoor show every week here in America. You're listening live on News 95.5 and AM 750 in the South. In the North, WEEI Boston and coast to coast on SB Nation Radio. Want to remind you right now about O'Neill's book. Check it out, O'Neill Outside, People and Places Along the Way. If you're watching on Facebook, you can see me holding it up to the camera right now. Take a look. There's O'Neill on the cover. Got a bunch of recipes in there for your big green egg, and a bunch of great stories about O'Neill and who he's met and things he's done throughout his hunting and fishing career. You can order the Kindle version at Amazon.com if that's your thing, or if you order the paperback book from O'NeillOutside.com, O'Neill will autograph it for you. That's right. Get an autographed copy of this book, O'Neill Outside, People and Places Along the Way. Chuck it up on your mantle or whatever after you're done reading it, and just enjoy yourself. We took a look at a few things here this morning as far as the lakes were concerned around Georgia. We're looking pretty good if you're going to be doing a lot of fishing in the shadowy areas later on in the afternoon. So have fun if you're hitting the lake. We also kind of touched base about fawns, and if you happen to see one just sitting out by itself under a tree, just remember, it's not hurt. It's not abandoned. It's just hanging out and waiting for mom to return while she goes on about town, if you will, taking care of business. And want to remind you also that this weekend you may want to forego the outdoors for just a little bit. We got a hunting and fishing show you might want to check out, the Ag Pro GON Outdoor Blast Hunting Show. Started yesterday, running today and tomorrow. You can see 60,000 square feet of outdoor gear and equipment at the Infinite Energy Center in Duluth. You want to check that out? It's $10, man. $10 well spent. You'll see everything having to do with hunting, fishing, outdoors, falconry. There'll be people bringing their falcons there for you to check out. So don't miss it. The Ag Pro Outdoor Blasts today and tomorrow at the Infinite Energy Center. Coming up, another hour of outdoors right here on News 95.5 and AM 750 WSB, WEEI Boston, and nationwide on SB Nation Radio.
Good morning, boys and girls, from Black Powder headquarters at Three Falls Cabin in the North Georgia Mountains. CVA presents Real Tree Radio. Welcome to a brand new, unused Saturday morning.
O'Neill's taking the weekend off. I am Scott Maxim. I am filling in for O'Neill. I used to be his board op, but he's given me the ability to move on up and try this out. And welcome back. Hour 2, we're going to be talking about purchasing rifles, guns, and so on this hour. I want to mention that we are coming to you live in the South on News 95.5 and AM 750 WSB. Up in the North, we're covered with WEEI Boston, the flagship station of the Red Sox. And coast to coast, left to right, SB Nation Radio's got us covered. And we can be heard on over 100 stations with those guys. I want to remind you also that O'Neill Outside is brought to you this hour by Timbuktu Outdoors and Fisher's Choice Baits, Stripling's General Store. It's more than a general store, man. It's just really cool and an awesome place to get what you need. Going to take a look at O'Neill's Alaskan Cruise Adventure? You should. Check it out at O'NeillOutside.com. He's heading up there with Gail, and they're going to check out those northern lights. The Whitetail Institute Food Plots Forage, these guys are on board as well. Tough Shed, great place to store your stuff. O'Neill's Real Lubes and Gun Oils, they're not petroleum-based, they're vegetable-based, and work better without smelling things up. Snellville Heating and Air is on board as well, as are Arctic Ice Packs, Bodyplex in Alpharetta and Jasper, and Works Tools. Thanks to all of them for their sponsorship here on O'Neill Outside. So this hour, we're going to be taking a look at firearms purchasing. Now, admittedly, this may be a little basic for some of you more advanced hunters out there, but what I'm trying to do today is just to give some people an idea of how to get into the sport, what to look for with a firearm. Should they spend a huge amount of money to get into the sport? What are you looking for as a beginner? I'm really kind of gearing this more towards folks who want to try out hunting, or for those who would like to upgrade possibly what you can look for as far as upgrading your firearm. I got all that coming up this hour on O'Neill Outside, and your calls, hit me up, 404-872-0750, inside the Metro Atlanta calling area, 800-972-8255, outside. Give us a call. Let me see if I can answer your question here on O'Neill Outside. Welcome back to O'Neill Outside. Glad to have you on board, starting second hour here of the program. And we might as well go straight to the phones. If you have a question, if you want to make a call, 404-872-0750 will get you in touch with me here in the Metro Atlanta area, 800-972-8255. That'll get you in touch with me if you're anywhere else in the United States. Calling now, let's check in with Roadster here in Doraville, who's been patiently waiting. He's got a heirloom firearm question, apparently. Good morning, Roadster. How are you today?
Welcome, Mr. Maxim. How are you, sir?
I'm doing very well, thank you, and having a heck of a lot of fun here hosting O'Neill Outside.
Well, you're a fun person. Your Maxim name, is
Yes,
that
sir.
coincidental? Is that coincidental that you are blessed with one of the great infantry eliminating weapons the world has ever known?
You know, actually, it's funny you should ask that question. I get that a lot. I actually do get that a lot.
I
and
bet.
Sadly, the answer would be no. I am not related to the Maxim who created the Maxim firearms. Actually, the name is a creation of somebody on Ellis Island when one of my ancestors arrived in America. Apparently, he was from the Czech Republic, and there was a lot of vowels and consonants jammed together that didn't make sense. So, of course, some guy in New York says, you know what, that ain't going to work. Here's what will, and he spells out Maxim, and it's been that way ever since.
The reason I brought that up, quality person for a quality weapon, and that's you.
Oh,
I'm going to hit you fast. I've got a couple of weapons here that my father carried one in North Africa. It's a 9mm Beretta. I think they're pretty common guns. This one, though, is kind of unique because it is matching numbers and has the matching original military holster.
Wow.
Is that something to take care of, or just as an everyday shooter?
Me personally, I would take care of that. One, having the original holster is huge. That is absolutely huge, and I'm assuming that's a military issue holster,
Yes,
correct?
sir.
Yeah.
With two magazines.
Oh, with two original mags, that's definitely a keeper. I would totally baby that thing. What you want to look for also on the gun itself, I'm assuming this is an Axis weapon, correct?
Yes, it's 1935 is when it was. It's a 1935 model. It's a 34 model produced in 1935.
Okay.
I have the serial number, and they're all matching. I've checked that.
Yeah, no, that's a plus too. The matching serial numbers is key for a good heirloom firearm. And I would also see about doing a little research on the production stamps, if any, on there. Sometimes you'll find some unusual production stamps.
There are some. I just didn't know what they were.
Right. The key to that is to go on the internet and see if you can track those down. That will also determine the possible value of that weapon. But just basically right now in talking with you, I would say that thing is definitely an heirloom, definitely worth chucking in the safe and making sure that it's well lubed up and preserved.
I got you. My father traded a pack of cigarettes to an Italian for it, and he liked it because he could carry it in a shoulder holster.
Mm-hmm.
And back then, they were being bombed a lot, and so they were in slip trenches. And the 45, the 911s would sometimes catch on the side of the trenches. So that's why he carried that other than a 911. And the final one is a Fox Sterlingworth 16-gauge shotgun. I understand that Crabapple, he shoots Parker Brothers or L.C. Smith. Is that worth taking care of, or just everyday shooter?
You know what? Excuse me. To be honest with you on that one, Roadster, I couldn't really say. I would look at it again, go to the internet, see if there's anything unusual about it. But just the fact that you have a 16 gauge is odd.
Right.
You don't see too many of those. I imagine the ammo is fairly hard to come by as well.
Very much.
Yeah, that might be a reloading operation more than anything else with that. But from the sheer novelty of it, I'd keep it.
All right.
You know,
Well, I know you got you got other callers, so I'm going to let you go. But you've been so helpful, and certainly appreciate hearing and listening to you.
And I would say this also, Roadster, if you are going to get a safe that gun, the first one we spoke about, the Beretta, make sure that when you put it away for long-term storage, that it's in a safe or some kind of an area that is not, I don't want to say moisture-free, but dehumidified, if you will. For the long term, just make sure that there's not a lot of humidity and moisture wherever you store it. If it's in a safe, maybe get a some kind of a moisture absorbing, like for boats. You've seen those little canisters of absorbing stuff for moisture.
Yeah, I use those. I use those in my cars. I'm also a coin collector, so I know where we're coming from.
There you go, my friend. So you know what's up and you know what to do, and all I can say to you, my friend, is do it.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you.
Thank you very much, and congratulations on that gun. That's a fantastic piece you've got there, my friend.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
All right. 404-872-0750 is the number. Give me a call if you have a question. Today, let's get right down into it. We're talking purchasing firearms for the upcoming hunting season. Now, the obvious, I'm going to throw a few questions at you that you should consider when making a firearms purchase. Again, mostly this is geared towards those who are new or coming into the sport. And the first question you need to ask yourself when looking for a firearm is, what is it for? What are you going to do with this firearm? So right off the bat, we need to determine what we're doing. Are we going hunting for deer? Are we going hunting for squirrels? Are we going hunting for fowl? Are we shooting skeet, trap, whatever? The weapon will be geared towards fulfilling whatever that purpose is. So when I say that, I say, you wouldn't go hunting, for example, an elk with a 22. That would make no sense. And similarly, you wouldn't go hunting squirrel with a 308. Excuse me. Dial in your firearm to what you think the job will be, and that way you will ensure that what you are getting is actually geared towards the purpose that you intend, and not one of these ideas where somebody says, get a jack of all trade guns, which quite honestly doesn't make much sense, because then you're limiting its ability to do what you want it to do. In other words, the more things you think it'll do, the less specialized it is. Stay on focus with your first gun to what you want to definitely do. Don't worry about what you may do. Worry about what you want to do. The next question we have to ask ourselves is, who is the firearm for? Now, again, that may sound like a big old question like, duh, I'm buying it for so-and-so. Well, sure, you're buying it for so-and-so, but is so-and-so a man, a woman, young, old? Are there problems perhaps with an older person and arthritis? Does this come into play? Are they slight of build? Are they big? You have to determine who will be operating the weapon, and you need to optimize that weapon, for lack of a better term, physically to the individual. In other words, let's, for example, take a look at a youth shooter, somebody in their early teens, maybe somebody in their mid-teens, and you want to bring them on board with deer hunting. Well, when you have a child that young getting into the sport, it's going to be like any other sport. They're going to outgrow the gear, and you're going to want to start with a youth rifle. Why a youth rifle for them? Because 1, it's lighter, 2, it's smaller, and 3, you can add what do they call it? For lack of like shims, if you will. You can extend the length of the stock, so as they grow, they can better shoulder the weapon more comfortably, and it will just be more accurate for them as the weapon is allowed to grow with them. Now, obviously, that's going to be a different choice than a man in his mid-20s. That person will go for the full-size firearm without any fear whatsoever of having to grow into it, being too small for it, or having to worry about a weight issue. Okay? So, again, what are we going to do with the firearm? Who is this firearm for? More questions coming up to help you pick the best possible firearm heading into the hunting season this year. You're listening to O'Neill Outside, live outdoor radio, nationwide, In the south on News 95.5 and AM 750 WSB. In the north on WEEI Boston. And coast to coast on SB Nation Radio. Welcome back to O'Neill Outside, Hour 2, taking your calls concerning firearms purchases. 404-872-0750 in the Metro Atlanta area, 800-972-8255 outside the metro area. Quick recap here so far about what we talked about. First question you ask yourself when purchasing a firearm, what is it for? The job will dictate the type of firearm you're looking for. Secondly, who is the firearm for? Let's keep in mind the physical and, primarily the physical considerations of the people that will be operating the weapon, but also consider their experience level as well. That will also dictate what level of firearm they have. Now, specifically with this, I want to address one thing that yours truly has a problem with firearms, and it kind of illustrates my point perfectly, is I have a huge problem when it comes to handguns for one reason. For all of y'all watching on Facebook, check us out on Facebook at O'Neill Outside on Facebook. I'm holding my hand up here for you radio people. Hold my hand up to the camera, and what y'all are seeing on Facebook is I have a really stubby thumb. That's right. Little dinky thumb hanging off this meat hook, and it's no bloody good for certain firearms. I cannot grip a Sig Sauer firearm to save my life. It is too fat. I cannot grip a Beretta 92 for the same reason. It is too fat. I can grab a 1911, no problem, but my thumb is so stubby that I can't hit the slide release, and it's annoying. I have to go two-handed when everything that I insist on using must be able to be operated, at least with handguns, by one hand. So what's a guy to do? You got to hunt for that thing, folks. You got to understand that sometimes, no matter what you may think, oh, this is the best gun going, oh, everybody tells me I got to have it, oh, it's wonderful. If it doesn't fit your hand, it's not going to be a good gun for you. That applies across the board for everything. If it's not a good fit for a shotgun, you're going to be terrible if you're trying to wing some pheasant. If it's not good for your hunting rifle, you're going to be terrible when you try to get a solid lock on a deer or a hog. The fit is paramount, so always keep that in mind, and don't be wed to the concept of one gun fits all or one brand is best, okay? Get the one that fits you the best, and you will have the best shooting experience possible. The next question, and I alluded to this just a second ago, what is the experience level of the operator? Who is going to be operating this gun? Are you a new shooter? Are you an experienced shooter, an expert? A lot of times what we're doing here with our firearms is we're moving up to a higher performance gun, and since our skill levels have also increased, we're moving up to more difficult hunts. So for example, if you're a starter in the sport, you might want to stay 200 yards and in for anything you want to take. It's an easy range, and most guns will take care of that. But as you've outgrown that style of hunting, you're going to want to reach out and touch them a little better, a little further, a little more accurately, in which case you may move up in caliber, or you may move up to a different gun altogether that's more accurate due to construction purposes. In any case, the purchase will be dictated partially by the experience of the user. I see we got a couple calls online right now. Let us, who do we have here? Hank the Yank, goodness gracious, we got a fly fishing report. Let's take a break from the gun talk and talk to our good friend Henry. How are you today, sir?
Mr. Maxim, how are you, buddy?
I am highly caffeinated, very motivated, and glad to be here today, sir.
Did you crack open your Pepsi Max?
I just finished the third one, man. I had my first one when I woke up to kind of get everything going, the second one during the first hour, and just finished this one here. So we're good.
Well, it sounds like you guys are having a good show this morning. I've been listening a little to it, so it sounds like it's going really well.
Oh, having a great time, sir. Having a great time. So what do you got going on? What's the fly fishing looking like out there?
Well, you know, there's anglers in the North Georgia area have a couple options today. You know, we've had no rain this week, and so that means the rivers are all fishable right now. You know, what happens a lot when we get rain, and a lot of people don't think about this too often if they're not really up on the river scene, but when we get a lot of rain, the rivers get high and muddy, and the fish can't see anything you throw at them, whether you're fly fishing, which we do, or even if you're conventional fishing. But the rivers are low and clean, and so you can fish anywhere you want today in North Georgia, whether you go down the Hooch for trout below Buford Dam, or you decide you want to fish for stripers below Morgan Falls Dam, or even if you want to fish shoal bass up in the upper reaches of the Chattahoochee. The fishing will be good anywhere you want to go in North Georgia right now, today, tomorrow, for sure. So it's going to be a great weekend to get out and wet a line in our rivers. I am actually going carp fishing this morning down in Bull Sluice in the Roswell section of Georgia. We have carp that we take people out for on a fly. So I've got a trip this morning. We're going to do that. But, Scott, the coolest thing I can say to you happened last week. I reported that I was going up to Helen, Georgia. Have you been up to Helen, Scott?
I have, actually. I really, really like it up there, and I try to get up there about once a year in the fall just so I can take in, the foliage and the mountain air and all that stuff.
Well, are you familiar when you go up, when you're on Helen Highway, Nora Mill Granary, that's up there just before you get in Helen? You've got that real granary from the 1860s that they're still making grits and all sorts of stuff at the granary.
Okay.
And if you go up to the granary, and you park there, and you look just to your left of the granary, I mean, I'm talking 30 feet to the left of the granary, you can get out, and there's an overlook area that over the river. There's a dam that's as far up as the Chattahoochee, can go, where the fish from Lake Lanier can go up to that dam and no further. And if you can take an overlook over that little lookout that they have at the dam, and if you look down, you will see stripers from Lake Lanier that have traveled all the way up to the dam, and they're just swimming around in that area up there trying to eat Unicoi Outfitters trout that they stock there for fishing in the fall.
Oh, right.
So we were up there last weekend, and we were catching stripers wading in the river up to our calves. We were calf deep, and we were catching striped bass up at Nora Mill. So it's a really cool thing that most people don't know is happening up there, but it is. And Unicoi actually does guided trips up there for stripers, where you can go and wade fish and fly fish for stripers in the summer. And so it's a really cool thing. So we did that last weekend, and it was really great. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, that sounds fantastic, man. No question about it. I do have one question for you, though. You said that the rivers are going to be kind of cloudy today, right? Kind of dirty?
No. They're going to be clean as a whistle today. We didn't have a lot of rain this week, so the rivers are actually they're in full swing this weekend. Okay, because I was wondering if they were dirty, and you're fly fishing, how do you get their attention if they have a hard time seeing the water? Did, Scott. That's a great question. When the rivers are dirty, the fish just don't see the fly. It's just that simple. Now they're okay when it's a little stained, but once you get a chocolate type, when you get a lot of flow down from the headwaters. Right. When we get a lot of rain, you just can't fish. You got to stay off the rivers. They're blown out. That's what we term it. So the rivers are blown out, but they are not blown out this weekend. They are in full regalia, and this is a great weekend to take a kid and just go wade the river and take them trout fishing or bass fishing or whatever it is you want to do. And the weather is absolutely cooperating this weekend as well. I see we're going to have a little cooler temperatures than we've had lately, and I think nothing but sun. Nothing but sun, and for my fishing, what I'm doing today, one of the things I need light winds in order to carp fish, because what we're doing is when we're fishing for carp, we're actually sight fishing for all the fish that we're throwing to with a fly. You don't throw it, we don't make a cast unless you actually see a carp swimming around in about 8 or 10 inches of water. So we're getting super shallow on the flats, and we're sight fishing to these fish. So we need it to be flat calm with no wind, and we've just got perfect conditions this morning. Wow, sounds fantastic. Well, hey, Henry, if somebody wants to get out and do a little fly fishing with you, how do they get a hold of you for that guiding? Well, they give us a shout at 678-677-5382, or they can go to the website, which is Henry Cowen, Cowen, flyfishing.com. And we're actually, Scott, we're starting to book our trips for Lanier. We start up in October is when we start doing our striper trips from October to May, and we're already booking up right now. So now's a good time to start getting on the calendar, and I appreciate that.
Hey, no problems. Fantastic stuff. And, oh, man, so happy to hear from you. I was hoping you were going to call last time I was here, but I guess you were out in the motherland or something. Glad to hear from you this week.
I was away. Yeah, I was away, but I'm always going to support you. You know, Scott, you and I worked together down at the radio station when Neil used to go down there all the time. It was always nice seeing you.
Well, I appreciate it, and it's, again, always a pleasure to hear from you. Hope you have a great day out there and slam those carp, man.
All right, buddy. You take care.
You as well. Have a good one. All right, 404-872-0750. Those are the numbers that you punch to get in touch with me here, just like Richard here from Wheeling, West Virginia. You got a gun question for me today, Richard?
Yes, I do.
Lay it on me. What do you got?
About somebody who's never owned a gun, which is
correct.
Me. I've never had a gun, and I do sort of have arthritis. But what happened to me was I just pulled out of I was just in a small little town here, right outside of where I live. Mm-hmm. I pulled out in front of somebody, a woman, and she was hysterical. She kept screaming at me out the window, "You pulled that thing over," cussing me out, and was just all over my bumper and just riding me for probably 2 or 3 miles. And then somehow she disappeared, and then she reappeared someplace else yelling and screaming at me, "Get out of that car, I'll tear you apart." She was just going absolutely nuts. And I'm thinking, I cannot pull this car over because I have no way to defend myself. So I was just thinking, if I had some sort of a gun, and I just got out and I said, "Okay, lady."
I got you. Well, Richard, let me do this. Let me put you on hold for just a moment. I've got to go to a break, and when we come back, I will address your question, and give me a little time to think about it as well. So don't go anywhere. Stick around. Y'all, come on back. We are live here. It's O'Neill Outside, and we are taking your calls. 404-872-0750. Topic of the day, your gun acquisitions. Now let's recognize this week's Medal of Honor recipient on O'Neill Outside. All right, the Medal of Honor recipient for this week, Corporal Rodolfo Hernandez. Or, I'm sorry, Hernandez. Am I reading that right? Hernandez. Mistype. U.S. Army, Korea, 1951. Corporal Hernandez's platoon came under ruthless attack by a numerically superior and fanatical enemy, accompanied by heavy artillery, mortar, and machine gun fire, which inflicted numerous casualties on the platoon. His comrades were forced to withdraw due to lack of ammunition, but Corporal Hernandez, though already severely wounded in an exchange of grenades, continued to deliver deadly fire into the ranks of the onrushing enemy until a ruptured cartridge rendered his rifle inoperative. Immediately leaving his position, Corporal Hernandez rushed the enemy armed only with rifle and bayonet. Fearlessly engaging the foe, he killed 6 of the enemy before falling unconscious from grenade, bayonet, and bullet wounds. But his heroic action momentarily halted the enemy advance and enabled his unit to counterattack and retake the lost ground. The indomitable fighting spirit, outstanding courage, and tenacious devotion due to duty clearly demonstrated by Corporal Hernandez reflect the highest credit upon himself, the infantry, and the U.S. Army. Corporal Rodolfo Hernandez died in 2013, and every one of those guys, Medal of Honor recipients, you guys are the best of the best. Let's get back to the phones here. Richard from Wheeling, you had a question regarding a gun. You're thinking about something for a defense kind of a job for yourself, correct?
Yes, that would be a defense.
Okay, and
you just have,
I'm sorry,
know, it's just something that you just hate to be a wimp and just have this woman, like I said, just threatening to kick your butt, telling you to pull over, and just hounding you.
Well, Richard, I would say this much, okay? First of all, I would caution the idea of having a gun to brandish in case somebody gets in your face. It could get you in trouble. Let me put it to you this way, because if a police officer determines that the threat isn't justified by the presence of a weapon, then they will get you for, I don't know, whatever violation they feel like getting you for in that regard. So that being said, I would encourage you to say this. Keep it for absolutely the worst of the worst situations. With somebody just screaming at you, I would not pull a piece. And I've been in that situation. I've been in a situation where going into a bank, I was accosted by 3 younger men in their teens, telling me they're going to whip this and beat that. to the point which I had to say, look, it ain't going to happen, and you better back off. Now, eventually, I told him, I was armed and you all were pretty close to being shot, but did not brandish the weapon. Now, that being said, I would encourage you to go check out something for yourself in the way of... Richard, how old are you, sir?
I'm
Richard?
70.
Okay. Look for something that's going to be possibly a little softer shooting, maybe a 380 in a semi-auto pistol, or perhaps something along the lines of a Ruger 327 Magnum. This particular weapon is a revolver that shoots a bunch of 32 cartridges. And the reason why I'm saying 380 and 32 is because they tend to have lesser recoil. They're fairly common, inexpensive, and also will be less painful, if you will, quote unquote, to shoot for an elderly person. And forgive me for using the term, I just don't know what else to say, Richard. But I think that would probably be where you would be best served.
Okay, because I just didn't know when you have somebody like I think it's what you call road rage.
Yes, sir.
And you don't know what that woman's going to do right alongside. She was basically right behind me, and I'm just thinking, if she gets out and she just wants to fight me, and there's a very good chance that she could just whip me, I'm just saying I brandish my weapon and say, go ahead and try it.
Yeah,
but that would back her off, but I don't know. Like I said, I've never had a gun, so I don't really know.
Well, the key, Richard, is, first of all, I would highly encourage you to get said weapon for the simple fact that it is the great equalizer. Whether you're older or a woman, it's going to enable you to be on even footing with anybody that's antagonizing you. Secondly, you're in West Virginia, and I'm not familiar with the gun laws there. When you go to look at some firearms, say at a local gun store or at a gun shop, ask people where you can find out the latest information on West Virginia gun laws, and potentially get some answers to questions that would surround scenarios like what you're describing. I think if you go that route, I think what you'll find is that you'll find something that'll really work for you, but at the same time, I don't think you'll be that intimidated in your search. Does that work for you, sir?
All right, thank you.
Not a problem. Hope we helped you out. 404-872-0750 is the number. That'll get you in touch with me, and we'll jump right back here with the phone calls with John from New York. You got some technical advances you want to talk about here today, sir.
Yes. Greetings from the Catskill Mountains, where winter is coming, and I've been busy working on firewood.
Nice. Sounds good.
As soon as the snow melts up here, you start thinking about what you're going to do for the next winter. But anyhow, very good program about firearms, and it is awesome responsibility.
Yes.
Yes, and over the years, the technological advances in firearms, rifles, pistols, bullets are phenomenal. For the younger audience, you guys are getting the best of advancements. It's incredible over the years.
I actually have been telling people lately that what I feel like we're in right now is what could be like a golden age for firearms, if you will. So many out there, such a huge variety for all kinds of different shooters as well. But also the quality is outstanding just about across the board. I mean, you really have to work hard to find a complete dog out there that you wouldn't touch with a 10-foot cattle prod.
Yep. And O'Neill is rubbing off on me. I just recently bought a Kona scope for my muzzle loader and then put that on and zeroed it.
Oh, nice. And that had to be a lot of fun, I'm guessing.
Oh, yeah. I zeroed it at 80 degrees temperature, so when it starts dropping temperature, I'll double-check it, make sure it's on.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. Well, John,
Richard brought up some good points. Now, I got firearms for hunting and also for self-defense. It's an awesome responsibility, firearms. That we now he and everyone else who has one should look into their state's penal laws, the justification of force generally.
Absolutely agree with you. And it changes state by state. John, gotta bail. I want to thank you for... Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. No, I'm good. What am I talking about? John, I'm sorry. I'm misreading my out times here. Carry on, sir. Carry on.
Yeah, in New York State, it's Article 35 people could look at. But each state is different. Everyone ought to educate themselves, just in case, God forbid. Now, also another point I want to bring up is politicians in your state. Obviously, New York State's politicians are hostile to the Bill of Rights and their citizens. Governor Cuomo came out with the SAFE Act, that everyone has to register their alleged assault weapons, and high-capacity magazines are a felony charge. I encourage everyone to register and vote, and encourage all your buddies to register and vote, because you don't want to end up like New York State.
No, it's pretty brutal up there, sir. There's no lie about that. And you are absolutely correct. When it comes to state-by-state laws, excuse me, they definitely differ state by state. But here's another thing, too. They'll also often differ county by county. And that's where things can get a little squirrely. So, like you were saying, make sure that when you are considering your firearm purchase, be it for concealed carry or for hunting, make sure you're up to speed on every single thing your state, county, and whatever has got going on as far as its firearms laws are concerned.
You bet.
All right, well, appreciate the help there.
Yep, appreciate everything you do.
Well, thank you very much, sir, and have yourself a wonderful day. We'll hopefully talk to you later.
Yep, take care. Thank you.
Excellent. Going to go back to the phones here. Mike from here in Georgia. You got a follow-up from Richard's call for us here, sir?
Yes, sir. How are you doing this morning?
I am doing exceptionally well and having a great time talking to y'all. What's up?
So I just I was listening to that gentleman speak, and I appreciate you taking my call this morning. I'm a very advocate, Second Amendment advocate. I carry everywhere I go. It was a great point that the follow-up caller also said about, knowing your state and local firearms, and they do differ by county to county. I am not familiar with the state firearm law as far as it pertains. However, in Georgia, we have what they call the castle law.
Yeah.
And inside of a vehicle, it does become your personal space, so to speak. However, that was Richard, I believe, that said something to the regards about brandishing the firearm.
Correct. Yeah.
Just to basically scare off the young lady that was running him off the road.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure in any instance, and I know in Georgia, if you brandish a firearm, you're going to face a charge. There is no good situation just to pull out your gun to say, hey, get away from me, unless you have the intent to use deadly force, and then in that aspect, it would be justified.
Absolutely.
But I just didn't want it to be misconstrued as, especially as a first-time gun shopper, that it would be okay to go purchase a gun just with the intent to scare off a road rage type driver.
No, that is definitely the wrong approach. The best thing I say to people when they're thinking concealed carry is this: it's always better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So, you really don't need to bust that thing out unless it gets really, really scary. So I would just encourage people.
I mean, really with the intent to use. And I would think that, especially him as a first-time shopper, he should probably, and I would say that to anybody, because a lot of people now, we've taught handgun classes to a lot of people that are just now buying firearms because of the state of the country, and they feel more safer just having that. However, they have zero training, and again, going back to the law thing, zero knowledge of what those laws pertain to as far as their concealed carry. So I think a good class, prior to applying, I don't know, some states, Georgia does not, some states require you to take a firearm safety class before you can get a concealed weapon permit.
Yeah, I know Florida is one of those states.
Yeah, but even if your state doesn't, I think that's an absolute great thing, almost a must before you go to a concealed carry state.
100% in agreement. 100% in agreement with you, sir. And on that note, I thank you for that tip. I am going to move on, if that's cool by you, Mike, and thank you for your call.
Absolutely, man. Thanks a lot for the time this morning.
No problem. Thank you. And as we are coming up to the end of this segment, I want to remind you that O'Neill has a line of cleaning products that you need to check out, these O'Neill oils. Now, what makes the O'Neill oils different? Well, we got a deck cleaner here. We've got Reel Lube for your rods and reels. We got your finishing oil for rifles, muzzle loaders, and so on. And what makes them different? They're not petroleum-based. They're plant-based. They work up to 5 times longer than a petroleum product. They don't stink, which is awesome. And best of all, they penetrate deeper. Check them out at o'neilloutside.com. That's o'neilloutside.com if you want to get those for your weapon. I highly recommend it. And want to remind you also that the program today, as usual, is brought to you by CVA Muzzleloaders. They were founded way back in 1971, and they developed a reputation for providing muzzleloaders and accessories to their customers with the best values available. Well, today their lineup includes not only the most technically advanced modern line of muzzleloaders on the market, and because of their craftsmanship, they are the number one selling muzzleloader. No. They've gone one step further. Now, appropriate enough, as we're talking about it, CVA has their first bolt-action center-fire rifle, the Cascade. It promises to be the best gun in its class. And here, check this out, or your money back. What? CVA, money back? They're the only ones making that guarantee. Check out that Cascade. It's available in most common chamberings. 6.5 Creed, 308. What more do you need? Welcome back. We're going to wrap it up here on O'Neill Outside for this weekend. But before we go, I want to take a quick minute here, talk with Doug from Griffin. Doug, welcome to O'Neill Outside. We got about a minute. Can you wrap it up for me in that time?
Yes, sir, I can.
Okay, lay it on me. What you got, Doug?
On a firearm, rifle. How do you register a rifle when you buy it from a neighbor?
Well, okay. Registering, I'm not sure what you mean by that. Are you talking about like going down to a police station or something like that?
Yeah, how you do putting your name like you had to do for a permit on a firearm?
Well, that's an interesting question, especially when you're talking about a private sale. Generally, that does not require it's a private individual swap. So, nobody's going to do anything as far as quote-unquote the background checks. Here's what I suggest, and this is how I roll when I'm dealing with purchases among friends, if you will. I want to see a concealed carry permit. It needs to be valid. I'm going to take a picture of it. I'm going to take a picture of the weapon and all the serial numbers, and I'm going to take a picture of you holding it. And then finally, I'm going to write a bill of sale for that item. That is the best way to cover yourself if you are selling privately. Otherwise, I would suggest going through a gun store. I'm sure that they can set you up with some kind of maybe a small fee for a swap, that kind of thing, just to make sure everything's on the level. I'd look into that. An FFL, something like that. Maybe there's some out there that would help you to keep everything above board, and if you prefer, done with a government background check. But again, private sale, it's a little weird. I would not sell to anybody unless they produce a concealed carry permit that is valid, sir. Does that help at all?
Yes, sir. Helped me very much, and thank you.
And once again, Doug, this is a question that I would talk to your local law enforcement about. Find some resources online. Don't take my word for it, man. I might not be up to speed. I can give you some decent advice, but ultimately, you're going to want to go to the source. Thanks for calling, and thank everybody here for their calls on O'Neill Outside this week. I look forward to getting in here again sometime soon. Maybe we can pick it up with some firearms talk. Maybe we can talk about something else. But in any case, I want to say this to y'all. Get outside this weekend. Have yourself a wonderful time. And take a kid with you, why don't you? Bring them up in the outdoors. They'll learn to appreciate it. They'll learn to love it. And they'll learn to keep it pretty when they leave it. We'll see you next time.
I once asked a mighty hunter, coming home from the field, how he came to possess such mighty hunting and fishing skill. He said, I'll tell you a secret, son. I learned everything I know from listening to O'Neill Outside on my radio. O'Neill, O'Neill.